Hey, got a strange one for you today. Why am I wearing my moon watch and walking in beautiful downtown St. Louis with Nicki? Well, we've got a special episode today. We, as we've shared with you before, have tried to come up with ways to fund the Volcom House. And we've started a few companies, and one of them is a marketing agency. And we have happened to come across a really special collection of one-of-a-kind lunar photos taken by the astronauts while they were on the moon and collected by a person who worked for the National Geospatial Administration. So we have purchased these items, and we're going to bring them to auction at the world-famous Selkirk Auction House in downtown St. Louis. So today we're meeting with Bryan Laughlin, Executive Director of Sales at Selkirk Auctioneers, and he's going to tell us a little bit about how the auction house business works, what the kind of things that Selkirk does, and then specifically talk about this collection that we're bringing to market. So, pretty exciting day. We have a lot to share with you. Join us.
Hi, I'm Bryan Laughlin, proprietor and executive director of Selkirk Auctioneers and Appraisers in St. Louis, Missouri, housed in our beautiful 555 downtown St. Louis building, which is the old Crawford's historic dry goods building, commercial palace, as it was originally described by the critics. So we're very proud of our space here, and we're also very proud of the team that we've assembled. We have about 12 full-time employees here in St. Louis and a couple of other individuals that help us throughout the country. Mainly what we do here is auction off rare and valuable art and antique objects. We have different cycles of auctions, whether it is true period works, whether it's modernism and contemporary works, whether there's special significant sections like a promotion of a space auction that we're holding on May 5th. People have asked me, how do we create a space auction? And the answer is our team and our clientele. So we have this rare opportunity to take in a collection of space material locally. And what we do when we find these certain rare opportunities is get our team involved to start building strategy and thought process on how to expand our ideas. So we used our team. We started reaching out to interesting individuals, much like we do when we're looking for certain objects for other auctions. And we were able to accumulate provenance material from the head engineer at the time, John Yardley, Sandy McDonald, and other locals that were very heavily involved in our St. Louis region, which people don't actually think about during the space age, but actually played a very critical role with geospatial awareness, star maps, charts, engineering specifically with McDonnell Douglas, now Boeing obviously. And our team of experts and specialists sits down, meets with individuals one-on-one, examines their collection as a whole, and then develops the idea of value based on comparisons in the marketplace and hopefully non-comparisons in the marketplace, one-of-a-kind items where we're able to communicate with other individuals, specialists around the country, oftentimes around the world and internationally, and really start to capture the true information about what the material is, documenting it, and then ascertaining it to a certain value, marketing that material to an international audience, and then in a given moment, after the marketing effects have taken place, hammering down on the objects, selling them via the auction method. Launch is an auction that takes place on International Space Day, which is the 5th of May. Why I was so drawn to the early lunar exploration One, obviously my generation, the history that we have here in St. Louis, the material itself that I saw, photographs, landing charts, star maps, something that might be a little bit outside the box of what we think of when we're talking about antique objects, the auction world, or fine arts. And that is actually the real value of Selkirk, is that we're not pigeonholed specifically into one genre. We're actually very expansive with multiple genres. So whenever I have an opportunity to, one, expand Selkirk's reputation for what we can sell, and also utilize an opportunity for our team to learn and grow together, we try to capitalize on that. And the lunar material specifically, I thought was one of the better opportunities to be able to expand our team's knowledge. Why do I love Selkirk so much? I have a long background in the antique and art world. My father was an antique restoration specialist, worked for a lovely couple here that was really renowned throughout the Midwest named Dave and Mary Bullock. And the Bullocks had a Ladue space where they sold mainly formal Victorian furniture, specifically from England. And I learned the process of restoration, loved the aesthetics of 19th century furniture, especially as a young child and as a young adolescent growing up. I would oftentimes think to myself how futuristic the pieces from the past actually seemed to a young person engaging the first time aesthetically. And from there, I developed a love of art and objects, kind of always been creative. And the history of Selkirk is something that's very important to me. It's the second oldest name and auction in the entire country. It's a true Georgian era company that has been in St. Louis and established in 1830. And so for the last 2 centuries, Selkirk has offered an experience of a lifetime, whether it be through observation and the soaking in of culture via art and object, or whether it be learning. I oftentimes compare fine art auction houses to touchable museums, tangible museums, a place where you can go and see something that you might have never seen before and very likely might never see again, but you can actually engage with it more than just reading about it or more than just viewing it. And that's one of my greatest passions, is actually handling those objects in order to develop an understanding of feel, weight, time, aesthetics, and in all honesty, what that would equate to, which is a social, cultural movement of a period. And so all those things combined kind of make this nice recipe for every day being a learning lesson and not too many dull moments. What a normal person needs to know about auction is to not be intimidated. Most people I find are very intimidated by auction. I've had questions, does it cost money? No, it's complimentary. Can the public enter? Yes. We have specified exhibitions. All the information's on our websites, on our social media pages. You can contact our office in a number of ways: fax, email, phone, get old school. You can come down and visit. We have QR codes in our front windows on Washington. It's one of the most historic streets as well in St. Louis. Very, very informative information on our website. One of the only auction houses regionally that has an app. You can download our Selkirk app on any Android, any Apple device, have up to the moment stats regarding the specific auctions that are taking place, future auctions. You can also, a great resource, look up the past auctions to ascertain a value for maybe an item that you have, or see what Selkirk sells at a very, very potent level that needs international marketing and that needs specialists in order to highlight those specific objects. So yeah, all walks of life come to some of our preview parties and exhibition. It's not dictated by age. It's not dictated by social demographic. It's not dictated by any type of income levels or tax brackets. It is literally open to the public, young, old. Children are very much welcomed. I encourage that. It's something for families to be able to do. A lot of times I hear, oh, well, I can't take my child in. Why not? Have them indulge and learn about what we're doing here at Selkirk and learn about objects and the history of art in general, so that they can have a better understanding of how we got to this point in history. It's not intimidating in the sense of the objects are from the past. They're not going to do anything to you. And so engaging with them shouldn't be viewed as of an intrepid nature. It needs to be done out of curiosity. Oof, there's so many wonderful objects coming up that are really rare and truly one of a kind in the launch auction, again, taking place May 5th, Space Day. But a few of my favorite are a 30-foot long panoramic photograph of the rover actually on the moon. There's also a very large scale period Aldrin photo that's extremely iconic and that is extremely rare as well. With some of the other material that is more tangible and less ephemera, there is a portion of the auction that has the provenance of John Yardley, who was the head of NASA engineering at the time. So we have letters in between Yardley and Sandy McDonnell, the owner of McDonnell at the company of the time, as well as some of their teammates. And we have some of the objects that they were actually utilizing for study, for execution, and literally at the launch bases. One of my more favorite items, I would have to say, is a hard hat that is the property formerly of John Yardley himself. We have photos of Yardley in the hard hat we're selling. The hard hat experienced some of the most significant early lunar launches, and it is just a cool object in general. It's awesome looking. If you have anything at all, historic furniture, fine art, oil paintings, jewelry, porcelain, Asian objects, historic automobiles, objects of interest like lunar landing space charts, and construction hats worn by the head engineer of NASA at the time, John Yardley, heat shields, items that have been flown in space, historical objects basically of any kind. Selkirk wants you to definitely reach out, contact us, talk to one of our specialists, and see how we can help you create the most value for you or your family's objects.
Right, so that was interesting, wasn't it? We got to meet Bryan and we got to hear all about the auction process. So hopefully you're interested in this, this collection, this one-of-a-kind collection. If you are, please attend this auction either virtually or in person at Selkirk Auctioneer on May 5th, Space Day. You know where it is. It's downtown St. Louis on Washington Avenue. Stop by, pay them a visit, check out some of their auctions. It's pretty amazing things.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? The vast stretches of the unknown and the unanswered and the unfinished. For we meet in an hour of change and challenge, in a decade of hope and fear, in an age of both knowledge and ignorance. We shall send to the moon, 240,000 miles away, a giant rocket. For the eyes of the world now look into space, to the moon and to the planets beyond. And it is one of the great adventures of all time. By new techniques of learning and mapping and observation, by new tools and computers, what was once the furthest outpost on the old frontier of the West will be the furthest outpost on the new frontier of science and space. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6.
No man can fully grasp how far and how fast we have come.
0, all engine running. We have a liftoff. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Shadow. 4 forward, drift into the right level.